Hello everyone, I hope you're doing well. My name is Staff Sergeant Marc Limon. I am a recruiter with the Kansas Army National Guard, and today we're going to do a brief overview of the Army National Guard and specifically the education benefits, because I think the education benefits that the Guard provides is the best out there. All right, this is the agenda. This is what specifically we're going to cover today. We're going to talk about what specifically is the Army National Guard. We're going to talk about the mission set of the Army National Guard. That really is what makes us unique when it comes to the other services. We're going to talk about the education benefits that soldiers in the Guard receive, the Kansas specific benefits that those soldiers receive, and then some other financial benefits that could come into play. Of course, we're going to talk about base pay. For whatever reason, people have a tendency to believe that because we're an all-volunteer force, that means we don't get paid. You volunteer to enlist, you get paid for your service, right? You get paid while you're training, you get paid while while you're out on mission doing those things. We're going to talk about the Recruit Sustainment program and how that pertains to those who are interested in joining the Army National Guard while they are in high school, juniors or seniors, or even while they're in college. We're going to talk really quickly, basically just going to show you the breadth of the Army National Guard jobs that we have in the state of Kansas. Going to talk about the enlistment process, and then again, there'll be a slide with contact information for me, so if you have any questions throughout the presentation, just shoot me a text, give me a call, and we can follow up from there. All right, so what is the Army National Guard? So the Army National Guard is a component of the United States Army. What does that mean? That means, we go to the same training, our basic training, our job training are all the same. We wear the same uniforms. We are governed in large part by the same regulations. So that's why you will see soldiers walking around, and if you've had any contact with Army recruiter, sometimes there's some confusion between Army recruiters, United States Army Reserve recruiters, and Army National Guard recruiters, right? We are a part-time military service, right? 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks in the summertime. That's 39 days out of the year after you complete your initial entry training, right? What makes us unique from the other part-time services is we have a state and a federal mission, right? So we belong to the federal government in part, so our soldiers on occasion go overseas in defense of the country, but we also have a state mission. So in the instance where there is a natural disaster and there's some military assistance that needs to happen, we get called into service, whether it's a wildfire support or whether it's wildfire support or blizzard support or flood support. There's several different things that happen year to year just from the nature of the weather in Kansas. Those soldiers are the ones that help go and support our fellow Kansans in that time of need, right? Because we have that state mission and that federal mission, we receive some state benefits that some other branches don't, right? We get some of the federal benefits as well, but because we have that extra little mission set, the state of Kansas said in 2018, hey, we're going to give you some additional education benefits as a thank you. And then, of course, all of our unit assignments are local. We try to keep everybody within 50 miles of where they live, or in the case where you're going to go to school in an area where away from where you're currently living, we're going to try to keep you within 50 miles of where that college is, right? So all of our units are within the state of Kansas. We don't have any units that exist outside the state, right? And then just if you notice the little graphic there, that patch, if you're interested in talking to an Army National Guard recruiter or you happen upon one out in the wild, our recruiters wear this triangular patch on their left shoulder. We only recruit for the Army National Guard. If you're interested in active duty or Army Reserve, that's a whole nother set. They don't recruit for us, we don't recruit for them. Okay, so what are those missions? I talked about them briefly already, right? So I like to say that we are the military branch of the Department of Emergency Management, right? So this past 2022, we had a lot of wildfires throughout the state throughout the year. Soldiers get assigned to go help with those things, right? So I was in the aviation unit in the state of Kansas out of Topeka, the 108th Aviation, before I became a recruiter. During those during wildfire season, we would always have a crew ready to go to help fight that fire from the air. I know in the past that we have sent soldiers to go learn how to fight wildfires from the ground, regardless of really what their military job is, so they can do those things, right? And then of course in 2022 we've had a busy year as far as the state is concerned. The 35th MPs, the military police company, they went to Guantanamo, Cuba, and ran some detainee operations there. The 35th Infantry Division, they were in the Middle East and all over the Middle East really, running some command operations there. And then the 2nd of the 130th Field Artillery is in Southwest Asia, running some operations there currently. Okay, so to get into the federal education benefits, right? So the federal tuition assistance, or what we call FTA, that is received by active duty, the reserve, and the National Guard. So what is this benefit? It is $250 per credit hour, up to 16 semester hours per fiscal year, right? So the most expensive state school right now is KU. KU runs $336 approximately dollars per credit hour. So if you were using your federal tuition assistance to pay for your semester at KU, it's not going to cover that 100%, but it's definitely going to make a big difference in what you're paying to attend those classes within that semester, right? So what do you have to do to be eligible for this? You have to complete training. So you have to complete basic training and job training, right? And then you can see there's some restrictions there as well for how you can use the benefit. It's got to be an accredited university. You have to maintain a minimum GPA. We actually talked to Guard soldiers about using this benefit in a little different way, and you'll see why here coming up here pretty soon. They get the benefit, but they have something else that they can use that can kind of put this one as a secondary means of helping with tuition. The Montgomery GI Bill Selected Reserve. Again, this is received by the Reserve personnel and the National Guard personnel. So this is up to 36 months of education benefit at $439 per month. It just went up this year, lucky for everybody. So in the months that you are in college, as long as you're in college and you're maintaining your GPA, you're going to get that money to do with whatever you want, right? That's money that you can use to offset your cost of going to school or living on campus. That's money that you can put in the bank, you can invest it. It's your money to do with what you want, right? You have to have a 6-year contract in order to get that benefit. You have to complete your training, both basic and your job training, and you have to graduate high school, right? So if you don't have that diploma, that benefit doesn't become eligible. You're not eligible for that benefit, right? So the incentive, there is an incentive tied to the Montgomery GI Bill Selected Reserve. So that is only for personnel who who score a 50 or higher on their ASVAB. That's that Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery, the test that you have to take to join the military. If you score a 50 or higher on that, you are eligible, and a 6-year contract, you are eligible for an additional $350 per month while you're in school. So it ends up being quite a bit more money, again, to do with what you want. It's yours. You can pocket it. You can use it to offset that cost. It's really up to you. All right, so this is the big benefit that we get in the National Guard. It's National Guard only. The other services don't get it, right? So state tuition assistance, or what we call STA. It is 100% free in-state tuition and fees to any of the state schools, right? So, and I'll have that list of those state schools here just briefly, but it's up to 15 credit hours per semester, which a lot of the universities are pretty universal on. That's what they want you to take per semester. So you can graduate in 8 semesters or 4 years, right? What do you need to get this done, right? Graduate high school. Yeah, you have to have not earned a bachelor's degree, right? So if somebody was enlisting and they were already out of high school, maybe they've worked worked towards their associates, they're more than able to use this, right? You got to pass your PT test, or what we call the ACFT now annually. You got to maintain your height weight standards biannually. That's twice a year. and then you actually owe the Guard 2 years after the last semester that it was used. So in the instance that you're a senior, you join for a 6-year contract in the Guard. It takes you 4 years to graduate college. There's an additional 2 years on your contract. Again, it's a 6-year contract. You owe nothing additional. And then you have to maintain a 2.0 GPA, right? And then the restrictions, it has to be an accredited independent college, technical and community universities in Kansas, and that is that list here, right? Again, this may not be the most up-to-date list. It is as of the time that this was built. But if you have any other questions about any of the state schools, community colleges, or technical schools in Kansas, give me a call, and we can definitely do some research. So if you are interested in going to a college that has a ROTC program, that's a Reserve Officer Training Corps program. That's an officer producing program at these universities in Kansas. You are eligible to participate in that program, but if you want to do so, you can apply for what's called the Minuteman Scholarship. So this is unique to the Army National Guard. If you are selected and awarded this scholarship, not only do you get the 100% free in-state tuition and fees, because in this scenario you're a member of the Kansas Army National Guard, but in addition to that, you get $10,000 a year for your room and board. You get $1,200 a year for your books. You're going to get paid an additional stipend of $420 per month. And then you're going to get paid as a sergeant, an E5. So you're going to make a little bit more money than a soldier that was coming in, brand new. So you're going to make a little bit more money while you're going to school. You're not only going to have to, you're not only going to not pay for tuition and fees. You're not going to have those other debts that someone else who's not going through this program would have. You're actually going to make money. The cool thing about this, in addition to all that extra cash, is if you're not interested in going to basic training, or you're not interested in going to job training, you can bypass that training by taking this route, right? So you don't have to have the Minuteman Scholarship to bypass basic and AIT. That's that job training. That's called Simultaneous Member Program. Again, if you're interested in knowing more about that, give me a call and we can chat, right? This program is pretty awesome. ROTC and SMP gets a little bit more technical, but like I said, if you have any questions, I can answer them when that time arises. All right, other financial benefits. The sign-on bonus. This isn't technically an education benefit, but I like to talk about it as an education benefit, because if you're looking to go to college and you're eligible for this, it's definitely a way to offset that cost of school, or just give yourself a little cushion financially. So if you're willing to sign a 6-year contract, you score a 50 or higher on the ASVAB, and you are willing to enlist in a top or low density job. Those are the jobs that the state of Kansas says, like, hey, we need people in these jobs right now. You are going to be eligible for a $20,000 sign-on bonus, right? That money isn't going to be paid out to you until you're fully trained. That means you have to complete basic training and your job training, but that money is 100% yours. You can use it to offset your bills. You can use it to offset your education costs. You can put it in your pocket. You can put it in the bank. You can invest it. I would encourage you to spend it wisely, but that is your money. And you can see on the top right there, that is the current list of top and low density jobs. This list is going to change every quarter, so it'll be good until the end of December. Come January 1 through March, we will have a brand new list. And again, if you're interested in knowing that list, follow me on my social media. I do a pretty good job of keeping that updated when it posts. All right, base pay. This is the money you're going to get paid for just doing your job, right? This isn't, again, like I said earlier, it is a volunteer service, meaning you volunteer to enlist, but you do get paid for your time, okay? When you're going to get paid, when you go to basic training and when you go to your job training, you're going to get paid active duty pay, or what we call active duty pay, right? Because you get released from the Army National Guard to the active duty during that time. Like I said, we all train at the same locations during the same schools. During your drill pay, that's when you're doing your 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks in the summer, right? You're going to get paid for those 2 days a month, and you're going to get paid for those 2 weeks in the summer. That's money that comes to you. Is it going to be enough money to live off of? Absolutely not. It's part-time. It's a part-time job, but it's money to put in the bank to offset, anything else that you have. Right, here is a snapshot of what you would make if you were a junior enlisted soldier with less than 2 years of service, right? So it's covering what you're going to make for drill pay. If you look at the top, the top spreadsheet there, it's going to show you what you make for drill, then it's going to show you what you're going to annually, on average, make, right? As a rough estimate, it's not going to be exact, and this is before taxes, right? If you look down on the bottom little spreadsheet there. If you're a junior enlisted soldier, it's going to show approximately you're going to make per month when you're at basic training, and it gives you. And then I have a roll up of approximately what you would make at basic training, which is 10 weeks long, and then your job training. I took an average of 14 weeks. Some of them are shorter, some of them are longer, depending on the skill set required for that particular job. And then your total inactive duty training money. Again, that's an estimate there before taxes, but I have that up there so you can kind of have an idea of what you would make just during your initial training. Recruit Sustainment Program, or what we call RSP. So this is a program specific to the National Guard, right? So if you were to enlist while you are in the middle of a semester in college, or while you're a junior or a senior in high school, of course, we can't just, and nor would we, send you off immediately to training. We need you to go ahead and finish out that semester if you're in college, or if you're still in high school, of course, we need you to finish out your junior or senior year and graduate. That's definitely becomes your main mission once you enlist. So what do you do for your one weekend, right? So before you are fully qualified, before you complete your job training, you will do 1 weekend a month in the RSP, right? For our area, it's going to be down in Topeka. It is led by the recruiters, myself included, right? You are going to learn the basics of basic training. That's what we like to say, right? It's a two-day drill period. You're going to get accustomed to military life, the expectations, how to wear your uniforms, how to stand, how to talk, how to address superiors. It is a slow little burn into what is a very physically, mentally, and emotionally stressful time at basic training that is designed to be that way. What RSP does is not only does it let you make some money and start your contract, because again, if you enlist when you're a junior, your contract starts then. You start getting paid, you start making some of that drill money, but it puts you in a scenario where you are going to be less stressed out when you get to basic training, because you're going to understand the rank structure, you're going to understand how to march, you're going to understand how to stand in formation. You have a better understanding of what's going to be expected of you than someone who doesn't go through this program. All right, the jobs in the Kansas Army National Guard. I broke this up into 2 slides because there's a lot of them, right? And I did my best here to kind of break these up. So we have different officer producing jobs, right? Some of them you're not eligible for, unless you have a college degree. And some others are different, right? So you can see we have the different combat arms jobs. And there's some overlap between these. I did my best to try to break them up so you could get a general idea of what was going on here, right? The signal and communications jobs, administration and relations. Those are you can see we got a few medical jobs in the state of Kansas as well. Logistics, which is super big within the military and within the civilian side. Transportation jobs, legal jobs. I like to point out several of these jobs, but in particular our mass media / journalism type of different jobs, right? So those 46 Sierras, those public affairs mass communication specialists, for those of you who aren't opposed to spending some time in the military, but maybe some of the generic or what you think the stereotypical jobs are in the military, those are our public affairs specialists, right? They're our journalists, for lack of a better term. They're taking photos, they're taking video, they're editing those videos, they're editing those photos, and they're writing stories for local media, for our own media, things like that too. Right, on this page, we have all the engineer jobs that we currently have, the aviation jobs. I said earlier, I spent some time in the 108th Aviation. I love that unit, right, the different aviation jobs. Mechanic and maintenance, we have tons of mechanics and maintenance jobs. because if we move it or we drive it or we fly it, we have to have people fix it, right? And we try to keep that in-house to get that done. And then, you know, our intel jobs, our military police jobs, our chemical jobs, and then again, if someone's interested in joining the Kansas Army National Guard and is a fantastic musician, you can always try out for the Army National Guard Band. And then your 1 week in a month, 2 weeks in the summertime is getting better at your particular instrument and learning new music, right? Our band is pretty awesome. So as you can see, there's definitely a plethora of jobs. You know, we do have those combat arms jobs, but there's jobs in combat support, combat service support. Some of them are very different than what most people would stereotypically think an Army job could be. Okay, so you're piqued. Your interest is piqued. Hey, Sergeant Limon, you know, I want to at least get some more information. What do I need to do, or what does this process look like? So the first thing you would need to do is meet with the recruiter. Now, keep in mind, this is a no obligation, informational only meeting. There's no documentation a recruiter could have you sign in that meeting that obligates you to anything. We can't, nor would we enlist you in the office. It's not a possibility, right? So you're meeting with the recruiter, you ask all the questions, right? Bring mom and dad, bring your brothers and sisters, bring your boyfriend or girlfriend, any support personnel you have in your life, bring them, because they tend to ask way better questions than an applicant normally does, because they're thinking about you and thinking about your future in a different way than you would. So that first thing is just meeting with the recruiter, right? There's certain requirements. There's certain things that you would have to meet. Of course, you have the SASFAB up there as well, but you know, they're going to need to know your medical history. They're going to need to know your legal history and some of those things. And each service is going to be a little bit different. So like I said, you need to meet the recruiter and have those conversations. I would say the next thing would be to take an ASVAB, right? That Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery. That is not only going to determine whether you're on an aptitude level eligible to join the service, but it's going to determine what jobs you're eligible to do, right? You can start having that conversation about like, hey, this is, you know, Sergeant Limon, this is my subordinate score in this area. Does it qualify me to be a healthcare specialist, right? So on and so forth, right? And then of course you got to start building a packet. The enlistment application is large. It takes a little bit of time to get through. It's gonna want to know I gotta know everything about you, right? Where you've lived since you were 16, places you've gone to school since you're 16. I gotta know about your family and things like that. Just takes a little while to get that paperwork done. So we get that paperwork done, and then you're gonna go to MEPS, the Military Entrance Processing Station. For our area, it's in Kansas City. You're gonna go, and they're gonna do basically what's like a physical, right? A military physical. They're going to make sure all your parts and pieces are where they need to be, that you move well, that anything in your medical history isn't of a concern. And then assuming that is approved, that's when you would go into your contract review. We have guidance counselors at MEPS that are they're members of the Kansas Army National Guard. They're going to go over every T and every I in your contract and make sure everything's good to go. Hey, this is what I qualified for. This is what I qualified for. This is what I want to do. This is what Sergeant Limon and I talked about. You're going to give the thumbs up. You're good to go. You're going to swear in, and then you're officially a member of the Kansas Army National Guard. Congratulations, right? If you're still in school or in the middle of a semester in college, or you're still in high school in the middle of a semester in college, you're going to come to Recruit Sustainment program, right? We'll talk about basic training in AIT, right? There's kind of a different scenario for high school students, but you're going to have to complete your basic training and your AIT or your job training, and then you'll get assigned to your unit. You'll do your 1 week in a month, 2 weeks in the summertime. You can be a full-time college student. You can be a full-time, running your own business or doing whatever full-time, because you just owe 39 days out of the year to the Kansas Army National Guard. Right, the split training option. So this was that thing that I was talking about that's unique to high school students. So if you are 17, a junior in high school, and you have your parental approval, assuming that you qualify with everything else, you are allowed to join the Kansas Army National Guard, right? You attend Recruit Sustainment program while you're in your junior year. You go to basic training in the summer between your junior and senior year. You're gonna come back, complete your senior year of high school. You're gonna do RSP while you're in that senior year. Once you graduate your senior year, you're gonna go and you're gonna complete your job training. Once you're done with your job training, you come home, get assigned to your unit, enroll in college, do your 1 week in a month, and live your best life. Again, so that is a brief overview. I know that seems like a lot, but there's so many more details that we could talk about. There's other programs, there's other benefits that I didn't talk about in detail in this presentation. But if you'd like to know more, again, just please give me a call or shoot me a text message at 785-806-2144. Again, there's nothing that we can say. There's no verbal contracts that we can make. There's nothing that I could have you sign, even if I'm doing background work for you and trying to do some of that stuff. Nothing obligates you to join the service until you get to MEPS and you sign that contract. So if you're interested in learning more, don't be afraid to make that phone call, set that appointment. Again, bring in your support personnel and see where the Army National Guard can help you get to in your future, where we can help you meet your goals faster and see what you can become. As stated earlier, if you'd like to follow me on social media, you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Snapchat. If you want me to reach out to you, just go ahead and follow the link at the QR code and I will give you a call or shoot you a text.